Um, the Baggots are making a call for a take on my research concerning Reagan. Although I'm not in the mood and haven't really worked on it for a while, don't like doing it and have other concerns, worries, and pains to deal with. The hostility mode that they're in is ugly enough that I thought I'd take it on rather than allow them to have free play with fantasy mongering. It's really very important to remember that the most vociferous and insufferable of Reagan's defenders and apologists come from the Democratic Party. Tim Kaine is an ugly enough one. The Clintons are so pathetic that they actually tried to fulfill neuropsychiatry used on a child as punishment for political dissent. And I guess probably the most successful in terms of politicizing the information I bring forward by depredating on me as an injured party is Al Gore. For one reason, Gore is in the climate change movement. So he can upstage me on an issue that I have thought about deeply for a long time and contradict the intense shock and grounds for that shock that came up as a result of my field work on Mount Desert Island in the 80s by misconstruing what happened in a way that's favorable to his advocacy for things like secret experimentation, arguments about sexual valor, uh, military chivalry, and some degree of direct address regarding the questions that arise concerning Reagan, who I have no qualms about characterizing as Hitler Reagan. Why? Because when I explored his cinema semiotics, I discovered not only that he had an authoritarian military nationalist personality cult that was scornful of the rights of people he disapproved of, but his movies contain a pro-Axis symbolism and are in fact made by people who first developed Hollywood as a grand theater spectacle with epics glorifying the rise of the KKK. It may seem that in this great age of 2023, in the spirit of George Bush's right now about racism and ending it, that somehow we have changed. But the truth is that the banners being waved by the extreme right wing politics and even the crass refusal to scrutinize information effectively and truthfully that comes out of the left wing, the Bernie Sanders crowd, who also defend Hitler Reagan, is in fact the old storyline of people who think they're so special that they can arbitrarily hurt innocent people because they look down on those innocent people. And it was just nightmarish to endure Bush, Clinton, Obama walking on the rights of foreign countries in the name of drone war developments and theatrical hallucinations about what they were doing to promote a time honored tendency towards dehumanizing bigotry in the United States. So the first point is that the Democrats are behind a lot of the bullying, brutality, and crime, defending and protecting Ronald Reagan's deviant nature, as illustrated by his laying a wreath at the Gestapo cemetery of Bitburg-Belsen. Do any of these people know what Adolf Hitler did to Europe's Jews, to Russia, to Poland, to Czechoslovakia? What he tried to do to England, France, what he did to Germany, what he did in Northern Africa with Mussolini? Did they bother to think about what it means to have a president of the United States who came to power after the deliberate and cruel organized crime of assassinating our nation's truest, brightest, and most honorable leaders? When he sits under a swastika under the U.S. in a movie that appears to read rather us, when he makes films with the deviants who introduced the burning cross to the Ku Klux Klan culture, when he lays a wreath at Bitburg-Belsen, when he finds these used car salesmen from Arkansas, Little Rock, to molest somebody who came forward with a horrible Manson story of inhuman cruelty and spend 40 or 50 years justifying it by dishonorable acts for the simple reason that I could see there was a problem. And in fact, at the time, reached out to them and said, please engage what I'm bringing forward so I know that it wasn't you. Instead, they said, you suspect it was us. That's enough for us to kill you for it. So you should feel lucky that we only brutalized you and punished anybody who tried to help you with excessive domestic terrorism. And I'm not supposed to notice. A deaf person isn't eligible for military draft, yet they induced me to a secret, illegal military cult of intelligence from the right wing that used my poetry for explosive purposes. W is a suspect in this deranged fraternal activity from an enemy within. Are you satisfied, gobblers?